From the ramparts of the Red Fort on the 79th Independence Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke of the need of Atma Nirbharta. The need to be Atma Nirbhar, not just in defense manufacturing, but in defense technologies. He specifically spoke of the fighter jet engines to be made in India. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the day that happens, it'll truly be a game changer for Bharat. The made in India fighter jet engine for the nation to touch the sky with glory. The Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Today, I urge young scientists, talented youth, engineers, professionals, and all departments of the government that we should have our fighter jet engine for our own made in India fighter jets." Before I get you more on the journey to manufacture that fighter jet engines in India, and of course the fighter jets that India hopes to build and buy, listen in to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
आज मेरा लाल किले की प्राचीर से मेरे देश के युवा वैज्ञानिकों को, मेरे टैलेंटेड यूथ को, मेरे इंजीनियर्स को और प्रोफेशनल्स को और सरकार के हर विभागों को भी मेरा आह्वान है, क्या हमारा अपना मेड इन इंडिया फाइटर जेट्स के लिए जेट इंजन हमारा होना चाहिए कि नहीं होना चाहिए?
The armed forces in general and the Indian Air Force in particular played a stellar role in the recent Operation Sindoor, bombing 11 Pakistani Air Force bases, punching holes through Pakistan's air defense system and bombing 9 terror bases, including the headquarters of terror, both at Bahawalpur and at Muridke. But post-Operation Sindoor, the challenges that we as a nation face are immense. Let's talk about the challenges that the Air Force faces, from depleting fighter squadron strength to delays in acquisition of the GE-404 engines for that made in India Tejas light combat aircraft. And in midst of all of this, there is talk that India would now seek to build and buy 114 medium multi-role fighter jet aircraft and perhaps a couple of squadrons of the 5th generation fighter jets. Could it be the Russian Su-57 or the American F-35s? And should that happen, what would be the impact on India's 5th generation fighter jet aircraft dream, the AMCA project? There are many, many questions here we're seeking answers to. And joining me on this Battle Cry special broadcast is Air Chief Marshal R.K. Bhadoria, former Chief of Air Staff, to talk us through these challenges. Sir, welcome on the Battle Cry special.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, let's look at the situation on ground right now. We have to look at, one, the situation that's emerging between India and our adversaries on either side. Before I talk about the fighter jet squadrons and the strengths, there's been a development. Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have just inked a defense pact. What does that mean for the future operations that India may want to undertake against Pakistan, a future Operation Sindoor? Would it mean that now we cannot undertake any more action against terror?
Yeah, this is a new development, and I think the government response is already there, that they are studying the situation and studying the fine print, of course. But the straight question that you asked, no defense pact would permit any state, and Pakistan in particular, for utilizing terror as part of their state policy, unstate policy. So if they think that they can get away from a terrorist strike with this, I think they are mistaken. So if your question is whether it will prevent Op Sindoor, answer is no.
It won't prevent another Operation Sindoor.
Because there we are attacking terrorists. We are not attacking Pakistan.
But then when Pakistan attacks us, no, now the Prime Minister also made it very clear that there is no distinction between state and non-state actors. The Prime Minister is very clear on that. Next time, they won't be attacking terrorists first. Pakistani air defenses would be taken down first, isn't it?
No, it will depend on the situation. And it will depend on what has transpired. Okay. And in response to that act, and it is obvious that the terrorists will be attacked straight away. Okay, and it's not from our side, it's not a declaration of war with Pakistan. So let us see the final print of this pact. But any such situation, it will be responded to, be rest assured.
So these recent confessions of that Pakistani terrorist on television, and it went viral here in India, Operation Sindoor, it just proves how successful Operation Sindoor was, inflicting pain both at Muridke and at Bahawalpur and 11 Pakistani Air Force bases.
Absolutely. We had no doubt, and we were saying all along. And now there are, confirmations, so to say, coming from from the terrorists themselves and from other sources that are stating that, and including the fact that there was no third-party mediation. So it's all out. We were right all along.
Okay. Now let's come to the situation that we are facing on ground, Air Chief Marshal Bhadoria. The last squadron of the MiG-21 is being phased out in just a couple of days. It's happening in September. After 62 years in service to the nation. Sir, you started your career with the iconic MiG-21, and if I remember correctly, your last sortie as Chief of Air Staff was also flying a MiG-21. As the last squadron is phased out, your thoughts not just on that iconic aircraft, but the gap in terms of number of squadrons today?
Yeah, so MiG-21s, the 23 Squadron is flying the MiG-21's Bison now, and that is getting phased out. 25th, 26th September is the date. MiG-21s, like you said, have been in the service for 62 years. Huge period. I think if you look at the legacy of MiG-21, tremendous contribution towards Indian Air Force, towards India in terms of ability to defend our overall combat capability, and what it has done for the Air Force, for the development of pilots, for the training of pilots, and for our combat overall orientation and potential. I think it's a huge legacy that MiG-21 leaves behind.
So as you mentioned, this legacy of the MiG-21 and the number of squadrons that we had of the MiG-21, the backbone of the Indian Air Force for so long, will we have enough LCAs, the light combat aircraft, to replace the MiG-21s? And now clearly it cannot happen in time.
Yeah, so if you look at MiG-21s, at one stage we had close to 21 squadrons, plus there were 4 more units, TAC D, Alpha Bravo, and OCU in training role. So 25 odd units at one stage, close to 400 aircraft flying at one single stage. So overall, about 50% of the Air Force. Now, coming to your question of how LCA is fitting in, obviously, the LCA induction is way behind schedule. We have 2 squadrons in, 83 have been ordered, for further 97 order is being placed. So we are talking of 180 plus 40, 220 in numbers. So numbers, you will never be able to, any fleet will never be able to match the MiG-21 fleet, so to say.
Okay.
What we need to do for replacement of MiG-21s, I think there is a need which is well recognized, and government is pushing for it, to expedite the production of LCAs. Mark 1A production rate needs to go up to 24 in the shortest possible time, and that is the current focus. So the gap that has emerged today, it will fill up slowly.
Let's take it one by one, and we're putting out those graphics for the benefit of our viewers. The LCA Mark 1A, as the Air Chief was just telling us, 40 aircraft plus another 83 that have been ordered, another 97 that already have approval of the Cabinet Committee on Security. So on paper, we are strong. On ground, how vulnerable are we today?
Yeah, if you are talking of numbers and equating that with vulnerability, yes, he's talking statistically. But as far as overall combat potential is required, a lot of mitigation and a lot of planning has been done by Air Force in terms of modernizing all other fleets, inducting latest weapons, going in for other combinations. But yes, overall strength and numbers matter, and it is an issue that is highest in the Indian Air Force thought process, in the Ministry of Defense, and a lot of action is happening. The government is well seized, and you can see the attention that is being paid for speeding up the LCA Mark 1. You see what the government has done for inducting the private sector in true form in the AMCA program. Yes. It's a huge step. So these are signs of changing time. I think as a nation, as complete industry as one, it is time for everybody to come together. The DRDOs, the DPSUs, the private sector in particular.
We've talked about it, but it doesn't seem to be happening. And where is that bottleneck? Because the LCA program is already delayed. A part of the reason we were told is supply chain issues with the GE404 engines. 24 aircraft per year is what is being promised. But will HAL and the OEM, General Electric, will they be able to, will they be in a position to deliver on time, or these delays will keep impacting the preparedness of the Indian Air Force?
Yeah, yes. Currently, if you go by the delays that have happened because of the engines, and let me tell you, there were other associated delays also from some of the differences that LCA Mark 1A was to bring in terms of radar, in terms of software-defined radio, etc. So all told, it is complex, but we are over the hump more or less. Now it is time for HAL to get its act together and involve the private sector in its true form and synergize and step up the production rate. There is no other answer. But you're asking whether I see movement on ground? Yes, the movement on ground is not as much as it should be.
Okay.
I still don't see them working 3 shifts. It should be 24 hours work now from the state that we are in terms of the industry and everybody to synergize.
So they say we'll work 3 shifts when we have enough engines.
Yeah.
We don't have enough engines. What's the point of putting in 3 shifts?
No, we have the engines contract in place. So we
start
have
making the fuselage,
we have to have the entire production rate going up. And when you order the engines, you have to order as per a production rate.
Yes.
And that itself needs to be revised. So if you give enough time to the engine manufacturers, they will revise it. The issue is that all these need to be addressed holistically, and we should start seeing the movement on ground, which at the moment is not as much as it should happen, frankly, as I see it. But I also know that the HL and DPS, the DRDO labs, and everybody concerned in this ecosystem is really being pushed hard by the government, and you will see results very soon.
Because now is the time you perform or perish. There's national security that's at stake right now. If now our agencies are unable to deliver, our DPSUs are unable to deliver, why would we need them? There's also talk of Pakistan acquiring additional aircraft from China. And in your appreciation, do we right now need 2 or more squadrons, let's say, of the Su-57s or the J-35s for the Indian Air Force as a stopgap? Or, sir, is there an apprehension that may adversely impact our own AMCA project at this stage?
Yeah, I've heard of these reports that there is consideration to look at these platforms. My opinion is that we need to concentrate on speeding up the AMCA for more than one reasons. So if you're asking whether if you go in for any platform and there's a lot of talk of Su-57, of course it will impact the energy and the focus on the AMCA program. And why more than one reason? Because that is the next gen technologies which we have to really get it right, get it at the earliest. And it's not only the AMCA, it will impact our ability to design, unmanned combat air vehicles, which will be stealth design, and its combination and its other applications in manned, unmanned teaming and many other uncombat versions that we are going to come up. So this technology must get established at the earliest. So I would say we need to put all our energies into AMCA as far as 5th generation is concerned.
And we should not go in for a stopgap. Can we manage without a stopgap? Let's say an adversary like Pakistan gets a couple of squadrons of 5th generation aircraft. China already has 2 types of 5th generation aircraft. Wouldn't we be at a disadvantage?
Yes, there will be an interim period where we'll need to manage and mitigate with some other measures. And you leave it to the Air Force to do that. They will be able to manage it. That's my opinion.
And there is no denying that fact. The fact that a S-400, it's a defensive weapon used in an offensive role in Operation Sindoor, scoring a hit 324 kilometers away. Chief, I mean, your take on what the S-400 was able to do?
Oh, it's a huge capability induction into the Indian Air Force, and Operation Sindoor was a classic demonstration of what S-400 can do. And the kill that you're talking about is absolutely, I think, one of the largest distance kills recorded. What it can do in terms of, in terms of air defense capability of the Indian Air Force, and what will happen in the future such conflict scenarios, the trailer you have already seen. So it will prevent the Pakistan Air Force from coming anywhere near IB or LAC. There is no question. And a combination of such capability, combination of some more indigenous capability, combination of some sensors and intelligent use of those, plus bringing in, AI-enabled systems, and some more weapon system, etc., and of course huge standoff capability, there will be ability to get tide over this gap that is going to come up for fifth generation aircraft. So that's why I said there are ways of mitigating, and we have to take that step. We have to be strong in our focus.
In your view, there is some conversation about speeding up the procurement of 114 MMRCA, medium multi-role combat aircraft. There are some reports that seem to suggest that India could go in perhaps for the French Rafale, since we already have 36 for the Indian Air Force and 26 for the Indian Navy. Does that mean that earlier contract or earlier talking about looking at the American fighters, the Eurofighters, the Russian fighters, the Swedish aircraft, now we're doing away with all of that in your view?
I have read the report that you're talking of. I don't have a direct first-hand knowledge of whether it is right, authentic, or has the Indian Air Force really moved the case. So, but just purely going by the report, if this is true, then obviously, after a response to RFI, this matter was under study for some time with all its, in all its domains in terms of doability, in terms of what is available. And I think if the report is true, Air Force may have decided that this is the best course of action. It appears logical. We already have 2 squadrons. So let us wait. I think the official version will come out. But if that is the case, then it's a good move in terms of speeding up the process, plus making more. If you have 2 squadrons here, Navy has, Rafale getting inducted. It makes sense to go into production if you are going in for this capability in any case.
That, in your view, sir, so you have the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited manufacturing some 200 fighter jets, 180 plus 40, so 220 LCA plus 114 of these Rafales. I think 18 come in flyaway condition, 96 odd we make in India. Would that be HAL? Would that be Tata's? Would it be a private sector? Would it be a consortium going through? What route are we taking there?
I am not sure if indeed a case has moved, in what sense it has moved. But I would expect in the scenario that is now unfolding, with government having already announced that, private sector is to be given equal chance in the amca program. I would expect that in this program, if this is true, it would be on a similar kind of template. That means it will be open to HAL, it will be open to SPV with HAL or private sector or a consortium. And I think that is a good way to go. So,
okay.
So let facts emerge. I think we can discuss it then. But this is how I read the emerging scenario.
So there was also some talk that the delay in the GE404 engines and the recent tensions that we've had with the United States of America over trade. Now, could that also be a factor that the Indian Air Force would rather go in for a reliable partner that's, that's been with India through thick and thin? In your impression, you've been a part of the Indian Air Force family for 4 decades. You've flown both the Western aircraft, you've flown Jaguars, and you've flown the MiG-21s. In your view, are the Russians and the French more reliable than the Americans and the Brits, or is that an unfair question?
Let me put it this way, that we shouldn't read too much into it. A decision like this to go in for Make in India Rafale would have been taken after a very logical and very considered, discussion and evaluation of all the responses on RFI, and it is a step-by-step process. So I would say that this is not really linked to this kind of an issue. What you bring out in terms of reliability in this, Russians have been our partners, and we've inducted a lot of aircraft from them. We have inducted from French side, and in the recent decades, we have done a lot of induction from US. So from Rafale, Make in India case point of view, I think we should link the two and read it in this context.
Okay. My apprehension comes from the point after the 1998 Pokhran tests, as you know better, the entire Indian Navy Sea King and Sea Harrier fleet had to be grounded because after Pokhran tests, the Americans and the British, the sanctions that were imposed on India, it resulted in spares not coming to India. The French, and this is what India's ambassador then to France and former Foreign Secretary Ambassador Kanwal Sibal told me, the French said, you've done a nuclear test, your requirement, whatever you need from us, you can take from us. The Russians have always stood by us. So that is where I wanted to understand from you, going by past track record and going by the recent tensions on trade. I mean, if you've spent 25, 30 years calling America and India each other's comprehensive strategic partner, and suddenly America calls us a dead economy, it just goes on to show that while on the strategic aspect, the relationship has been strong, on the science and technology aspects, it's been strong, but suddenly there's this tension that's come in.
Yes, that's true. But let me tell you, there are some effects in transition. We have to take a long-term view. And also, the final answer always is what we are doing, what Prime Minister Modi has already directed, is on Atma Nirbharta. That is the crux of the issue, irrespective of what is happening geopolitically and what our relations are with XYZ, anybody. Finally, we are moving towards Atma Nirbharta, and that is our focus.
Let me now come.
And if I can also mention, you talked about sanctions. Sanctions have always resulted in upping our performance. Have never put us down.
Yes.
So we should not be worried at all. When we were sanctioned last time for the LCA, we had an indigenous fly-by-wire as a result.
Yes.
Okay, we started making our own, even flight control and those systems.
And the fly-by-wire, I'm told, with the LCA is supposed to be state-of-the-art.
Absolute state-of-the-art. Absolute state-of-the-art. Not a single accident attributed to fly-by-wire on a fighter program, a new fighter program, which hasn't happened anywhere in the world.
Yes.
In the first development of fly-by-wire fighter. So we shouldn't worry about these things. There is enough.
That is what perhaps explains the Prime Minister's confidence in Indian engineers, in the young Indian mind, and in India's experience to deliver. But will we have that faith? Now let me come to that crux, the engine. Where do we get the engine from? We have the GE404 engine that's coming in from America. We have the GE414 engine that we're talking about. We're talking about the Safran engine. We're talking about the Russian engine. What engine should we make in India? And not just as licensed production, but TOT, full TOT. No, transfer of technology.
Yeah. So 414, what you are referring to is a licensed production. It will end up in licensed production. Some of the critical aspects of technology transfer are not included. The real answer lies in, and what you referred to, what Honorable Prime Minister Modi said in his speech, that we need to concentrate on the engine. I think that is the crux. That is one of our vulnerabilities in our overall combat capability as far as aerospace and fighters is concerned, and areas which are coming up in terms of unmanned combat capability. A development of a fifth generation engine is the crux. And that, along with the partner, and I believe a case has been moved to develop this along with Safran. If that is true, we have to choose one partner as a technology partner and to develop an engine where we will have the IP and we will have our own production and we will have real technology getting established. That is the answer. That is the direction in which we are moving. That is the direction from Honorable Prime Minister. And this is what we need to achieve. We will achieve. This will be this will complete the only question mark that is there in our overall ability to develop fighter aircraft or aircraft of this class.
Okay.
And that opens up the entire domain of aerospace to another level.
Absolutely. So if we are going ahead with the French Safran, you believe that's the best way forward. In your view, if we are buying 114 Rafales, should it not come with not just full transfer of technology, but source code key and everything that comes in so that we can put made in India weapons, we can upgrade, we move forward the way we want to?
Be rest assured that if this Make in India information and what has come out in the paper is correct, all this will be included. In any Make in India, Air Force always ensures that this capability is inbuilt and it will give us the capability of developing and inducting and integrating any of the Indian weapons that will happen in the future. So that is a given. If this is true and we are moving in this direction, it will certainly happen.
The last 30 seconds I have on this part of the show, I must ask you this. There is an apprehension that our squadron strength will come down below 30. Will we ever or at least in the next foreseeable future, 10 years, 15 years, reach the sanctioned 42 squadrons?
If you're talking of 42, whatever we do, 42 is a very, very big number from the current status. Whatever we do. Okay, but the issue is that we must continue to enhance our capability and enhance our numbers in terms of, and especially on the indigenous side. Therefore, Mark II is very important and amca is very important. Mark my words, Mark II is very, very important. And speeding up Mark II and amca is the crux of the issue in terms of overall inducting aircraft in large numbers. Along with it, our equal attention should be on unmanned combat air vehicles capability, which are real combat worthy, stealth class I'm talking. I'm not talking of the current
I've run out of time on this part of the show, sir, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast. Many thanks. It'll be a problem reaching that 42 squadron strength, but we still sincerely hope that the Indian Air Force, and we are confident, will be able to protect us and our skies, whatever be the odds. Looking forward to reporting that story that we will have the Made in India fighter jet engine.